Live Coding with me, your host, Matt Groves. We are back for another fun episode of some coding. We'll be mostly working with databases and stuff. Today, doing some stuff with fake data, actually putting some data into the databases. And one of those databases is going to be, I think it's going to be SQLite. We'll talk more about why SQLite. In the past, I've covered MySQL, I've covered some Postgres. Of course, we've covered Couchbase. That's sort of the destination for all this data, the ultimate destination. And we're going to get to some REST today. Hey, Calvin Allen, thanks for joining. Good to see you, man. Hope things are going okay for you. All right, so let's get to it. Speaking of Calvin Allen. Oh, no. First of all, Stir Trek. Stir Trek is this week. It is this Friday. I am looking forward to it. It's a great conference. I will be there. It's in Columbus, Ohio. I will be volunteering. I'll be around at the conference. But if you're there, say hi. If you're not there, you should be there. I think they're sold out this year. I don't know if there's a wait list or whatnot, but you should definitely check it out. StirTrek.com. That's stir, not star, StirTrek.com. And if they're sold out, then you should definitely get a ticket next year. Definitely check out that conference. Great stuff. Full day of software, technology, conference sessions. And then after you're done with that, everyone can get to watch a fun, nerdy movie together. And this year it's Avengers Endgame, I believe. Codebase Alpha, thanks for joining. How are you? Okay. Let's get some important stuff out of the way. So, affiliate status. Yes, I'm affiliate status still. Affiliate means lots of things. One of them is you can actually hit the subscribe button now. So up there at the top, I assume if you're watching it on a browser, you can subscribe to the channel and you get access to, I don't know, lots of stuff, but emotes as well. Mini Wheats, up a little early. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we're doing some exciting database stuff today. Mini Wheats is going to be some really good customer 360 type stuff. We'll get to that in a minute here. But also means filling in text questionnaires. Yes, it certainly does. Lots of interesting forms to fill out. Actually, it wasn't too bad filling them out. Getting the kiddo ready for school. Yeah, Mini Wheats over there on Western time zone, I think. So that's like 7 a.m. for you, which is just too early. Anyway, I created one. Hey, there it is. Calvin's actually showing off my emote. This is the this is the Calvin Allen emote. It's the I'm calling it Bada. It's the Bada Bing Bada Boom is how you should pronounce this. I'll sub on Friday when I get paid. Hey, that's cool, Mini Wheats. You don't have to sub if you don't want to. It's still cool. Whatever you want to do, man. I just appreciate you hanging out with me. Really, the affiliate program thing is just... There it is. There's the sound effect. Thanks for the follow there, eTech Lab. That's the Bada Bing Bada Boom. Anyway, the affiliate thing is basically because that's one of the requirements to join like C# Fritz's live coding team. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to turn this into a living or anything, but that's one of the requirements. Anyway, I used to work with Calvin. We still work together on some stuff, but when we'd pair program and we'd get a test to pass, something like that, Calvin would often say "Bada Bing, Bada Boom." So that was my idea for emote. If we have some success or you get excited about something, Bada Bing, Bada Boom. Okay, so it looks like it said it might take a while for that emote to show up, but it looks like Calvin found it. So there you go. Hit the see if I can actually find it there. Yeah, there it is, right there. I can do it myself. All right, fun. Okay. One more thing to point out. All the videos I do on Twitch, they're on Twitch. They hang out for, I think, 30 days or something like that. Some period of time, maybe 60 days. I don't know. But I also export them over to YouTube for your convenience. You can put them on 1.5 speed or, embed them or whatever you want to do with YouTube. It's all over there. I have a nice convenient link here. It's also at the bottom of your screen. bit.ly/GrovesTube. All the shows I do here and all the highlight clips I create here all get exported to YouTube, including this very show will be on YouTube when we're finished. So I just thought I'd point that out. You can subscribe to that. I know everyone's in different time zones, so you may miss an episode or two. Totally fine. Just thought I'd point that out. Okay, I think that's it before we get started to actual coding here. So, all right, just a quick review of what we're doing. Back to Customer 360. So I am working on a tutorial to help get people started writing their own Customer 360 systems for their enterprises. So Customer 360, just to review quickly, we have a large company that has lots of different systems, and all these systems contain some piece of a person's information, a customer's data. So there may be some home delivery data, there may be some loyalty data, some online purchases, and they're all in different systems, and they're all separated. And I got distracted here by some sort of Slack message. Okay, we'll get to that later. But they're all different slices of a customer, and that's fine. That's a lot of enterprises do this. They, acquisitions and third-party software and all kinds of stuff all comes together and makes up this whole enterprise. So lots of different systems. But what we might want to do is create what's called a Customer 360 system that is able to view all the information combined about an individual customer or about all of our customers in aggregate. So we can, for instance, look at a person's information at a glance and see all those different systems in one, all the different data from those systems in one place, or run queries about all the different data together. So the first step of that is probably one of the most important steps, is actually getting copies of the data from all those different systems into a single data platform. In this case, I'm using Couchbase. We're moving data from home delivery, which is a MySQL database. I covered this already. We're moving data from a loyalty program, which is actually Postgres with a CSV export. We've covered that already. And we haven't got to this yet. I've done some work on this in the interim, but we have an online store CRM, which is some database, and that we can pull data from that using a REST, HTTP REST requests via some API that's exposed there. So the point of this is I'm showing different ways for you to move data from one place to another. All right? You could hypothetically use Kafka with all of your systems, if that's possible. You could use CSV with all your systems, but I want to demonstrate all the different ways that you might need to get started doing that sort of thing. And all the data is going to flow into Couchbase, into a staging area to start with. And from that staging area, we're going to actually put all the pieces together into one customer, we'll call it document in Couchbase. All right. So the requirements, so there's some design requirements. Could you recap on what Kafka is, please? Sure. So Kafka is, I can just bring up the Kafka website maybe have them explain it. Probably best themselves, but okay. They call it a distributed streaming platform, and what that means is you can put data into it as like a data source, and then you can get data out of it as a data sink. And so a lot of people compare it to something like RabbitMQ or other queuing systems. I don't think it's technically a queuing system, but you can kind of think of it like that. You put data in there like a message, and then you get data back out. And so there's lots of different uses for Kafka. One of them is we're going to use a Kafka connector to use this home delivery data as a source, and we use a Kafka connector over here to use Couchbase as a data sink, which means that any data that goes into home delivery will then get copied and updated over to Couchbase here, whatever sink we're using. So that's all that is there. There's lots of other tools out there like Kafka, but Kafka is a very popular one. Lots of connectors, so that's a good choice for a tutorial. Okay. Now, for the online store, originally the sort of the design document that we had created for this tutorial said the online store would be another Postgres database, much like a loyalty program. However, I think I'm going to call an audible and change that. I don't think there's a reason to have another Postgres database in the tutorial. And for the purposes here, it doesn't matter what database it is because we're just going to access it via REST API. So what I've decided to do is bring in yet another database, which is called SQLite. SQLite is, if you've heard of it before, it's probably from smartphone apps. Generally, it's a database that's used on Android or iOS apps to store data for individual applications. But it's been around for a long time. It's a sort of lightweight, embeddable, file-based database that's just a regular old relational database. So I'm going to use SQLite for that. And I'm going to not use Postgres for that. So that's the database that's going to back the online store is going to be SQLite. And I've actually done some of this work already, and I think I'm going to leave it like that. Cyplax or Kyplax, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. Okay. The other thing, so once we got the online store thing, and I'll bring the code up here just a second, is I want to rethink the data population. So if you've watched previous episodes, I created some methods to just put randomish data into home delivery and randomish data into loyalty program. The problem is that they're not that they're random, but that the data in home delivery and the data in loyalty platform really kind of has to match up in order to combine them into one customer document in a customer 360. So I was putting them randomly in there in isolation, so they're not ever going to match up. So I need to rethink the way I do this. So what I need to do is create some fake data, create the whole customer, and then split it up into the different databases. And then when I split that up, so this is the fake, the simulation part of it, right? Because normally there'd be real systems doing this. And then I can reassemble it using, I think, email address is what I decided to say, well, if this is the same email address as this, then it's the same person and we'll combine their data. I'm going to keep the update methods that I created. So we're still going to be able to make changes to customer data and ingest it as it comes. And yeah, so I'll just bring up the code here, kind of see what I got. So I created a class here called Enterprise Data. And if you notice, if this font's too small, let me know. I can make it a little bigger. But if you notice, this Enterprise Data class has connections to all three different databases in our enterprise. So the online store, which is SQLite, loyalty database, which is Postgres, and NPG SQL is Postgres here, and home delivery, which is MySQL. And so it's able to connect to all three of them. And now what I've got here is some hacky stuff, but basically this just means that, 14 or 16 point font, yes, I can do that, Codebase Alpha. Let's see, font. Change the editor theme. Let's see. Font, it is 14 already. Yeah, control scroll wheel works, but only for this one document. I have to keep doing that. So let's go over to 16 point font, a little bigger. Because if I can certainly do the scroll wheel and do it like this. But if I open up another document or another file, it's, oh, maybe that's changed. In Visual Studio, I can up the font and it'll carry over. Oh, okay. In the past, that's not been the case. So very cool. Presentation mode at some points. Yeah, I think so. I don't think I've ever used it though. All right. Anyway, so if that's readable, this one class has access to all three of those databases. And again, this is totally just, this is not a realistic portrayal of an enterprise. This is just me sort of simulating an enterprise in one class. So I've got these bits of code here that I've hidden because they're embarrassing, but they just make sure that the tables are all created in those databases to get started with. And then I've got this method here that is actually going to create some products, hard-coded products that go into our online store. So for instance, I've got, this is the ID number of the product, this is the name of the product, this is the category, and this is the description. This is just some Latin stuff. Yeah, it is some hashtag region basically. And it's not super important. That's why I'm just sort of skipping over it. Okay, so then what I've got in this enterprise is I've got this method that simulates basically the creation of a person as far as our company is concerned. Our company is now aware of this person. So this person is going to have some things that are in common amongst all the systems. First name and last name. So we're going to create first name and last name. And an email address, a fake email address, based on that first name and last name. And this email address is actually what we're going to use to assemble that data in our Customer 360 system. And then from that point, we can just say, okay, let's create a loyalty person for the loyalty system. We're, again, using that same common first name, last name email, but also some other random stuff like password, which is going to be unique to the loyalty system, the number of points, number of sky miles, or whatever loyalty bucks are in the system, some random number. We create a home delivery customer. Same sort of thing, name, email, but there's a bunch of other stuff that we're going to fake up that's specific to the home delivery, their address, for instance, that we're actually delivering their stuff to. And online store customer, which again is the same name and email, but a third password. It's a third login for them. It's another system that they may use, they may not use. And it may be single sign-on in a real system, but we'll just keep the password separate here. So now that we've got a bunch of fake data created, we're going to decide, do we actually save any of this to any of these databases? So we're going to randomly decide if they're going to be in loyalty or in home delivery or possibly in both. And that's all that this code is doing here. It's just getting a random number, rolling a dice, basically rolling a die, and deciding if they're going to be in loyalty, home delivery, or both. Because that's totally realistic. A customer of ours may be in the loyalty system, but they may never use the home delivery, or they may be in home delivery but never use the loyalty system, or they may use both. Right? So we're going to decide that, and if they're in the online store or not will be a totally separate thing. They have to be in at least one of these other two systems, if not both, and then the online store that may also be. We're just random. We're just doing a coin flip here to see if they're going to be in the online store or not. So if they're in the loyalty system, we'll execute an insert statement into the members table. If they're in home delivery, we're going to insert into the customers table. Notice the two different databases. And if they're in the online store, we're going to insert into this customer details table. And let me see if I actually have a picture. This is the original sort of design for the online store. Now I made some changes. For one, it's not Postgres anymore, but we're going to create a customer detail record here, and then after inserting into that customer, we're going to then create some orders. So this customer has made one or more purchases in our online store, so we're going to actually create that data as well. And this is some complicated stuff. It's not terribly important. Maybe I'll just create the database so you can see the actual data in the tables. But I'm creating some random number of orders, so between 1 and 4 orders. And for each order, I'm going to create insert into the order table some data. And then for each order, I'm going to put some number of products in that order. So when you go to like Amazon, for instance, you place an order, you may have 1 item in the order, you may have 5 items in the order. So I'm going to find some random number of those products. Remember earlier I talked about the clothing and the jewelry and things like that. It's going to get some random number of products from that product table and then insert them. It could be 1, could be 6. And then for each one of those, I'm going to get a random quantity. So again, like with Amazon, if you're buying a shirt, you may buy 2 of the shirt, or you may buy 1 of the shirt. So a random quantity of that. Random price. This is probably the weirdest part because we think of prices as relatively static. But, if you think of coupons and sales and price fluctuations, they really aren't that static. So I'm kind of simulating that by getting a random number here between $10 and $260. And then once I have that information, I'm going to insert into order item. And so after I create this, we'll see that we have a customer, an order which has some items, and the items each correspond to a product. Okay. So let's get our databases fired up. Just like before, we're going to run some Docker. So this is the MySQL database. We're going to skip the Kafka stuff for now. We don't need it just yet. We're going to go to our loyalty database, which is in Postgres. And we'll get our Docker or our Couchbase database going. Not super important just yet, but let's see. We'll just run it like this. Yeah. So, wait, no. Oh, I don't have the Kafka part yet. So everything except the Kafka part. Just saw the ChromaCam overlay again. I gotta get you this green screen. Don't buy ChromaCam. I don't know. It seems to be okay in like when there's daylight out. It seems to be okay. It's a little weird up here by the headset, as you can see. I kind of like the convenience of it, but it is maybe a little distracting. I don't know. Okay. I think I actually have a Docker image already for Couchbase. Why don't I just go ahead and start that? DB601 Enterprise Edition. Okay. And then if I bring up my Heidi SQL program, I can connect to MySQL. All right. I'm doing this all manually. This is stuff that probably I should do a little bit more. Actually, I think I did do this a little bit more automated. So this stuff does right here. Okay. All right, let's fire it up. Okay, so I've got this populate method here. Let me bring up customer 360 controller. So I added this populate method, which is going to execute that populate a person across the enterprise. And it's already done this ensure schemas thing, which should check the tables and everything like that. So if I do a refresh here, customers, refresh. No, I think I have to actually execute that first. All right. So I'll try it out. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Okay, good. And refresh this. And you can see, okay, so it's added all those extra fields for me there. And I'll connect to Postgres. And you can see it's got this members table in there as well. And one thing you see that it's done is it's actually put a member into the loyalty system. And it's not put a corresponding member. So Carolina Johnson is not in customers. And if I can do a quick search for onlinestore.db, this is my SQLite database. I'm using a different tool called SQLite Administrator to open this. And we'll just select star from customer details. And you can see Carolina Johnston is in that system. So Carolina Johnston, we created Carolina Johnston out of thin air. She has an account in the online store. She has an account in the loyalty system. She does not have an account in the home delivery system. All right? And that's just sort of determined at random. So I'll go ahead and execute this a few more times to create a few more people out of thin air. And we refresh this and we can see, okay, now I've got 5 people in the home delivery system. right? For instance, we've got Virginia Bohm. All right, and if I go over here to this loyalty system, you can see Virginia's not in the loyalty system, but like Benedict Wilkinson is. Let's see if we can find someone who's in common here. Chandler, yeah, Chandler Okuniva is in both. And if we go up to SQLite, we can also try this again. And Chandler's not in this system. So we've got a smattering of people we've created, and they're in various different parts of our system. Some of them they're only in one of these systems, and some of them may be in all three. So we want to sort of combine them to get a complete picture of those people. But we got 3 databases going right now, and we're in good shape to start. We've already done the Kafka thing, so start moving data into Couchbase. Then the CSV thing, so we'll start moving that data into Couchbase. The next thing we need to do is create a API so we can pull the online stored data into Couchbase. So that'd be the third part of our Customer 360 system. Okay. Now, one other thing I should point out, and this is something we'll need to set up a job for eventually. I've also done some organization here. This is kind of small. Let me do a zoom in. I've done some reorganization up here. So in my core project, I've got the home delivery folder, loyalty folder, and online store folder. So that I can divide up all the different parts into those 3 folders. And you can see enterprise data. It is working with all 3, so it's in the root there as well. And here's some database stuff, the various DDL files to create tables and things like that for the different parts of the enterprise. And so if we look at this repository, if you remember from previous videos, I had a method in here that would create a brand new home delivery user. I've actually removed that in favor of the enterprise class. But I've kept this update existing customer because a customer may keep changing their data as they go forward, right? They're going to, maybe they'll move to a different city in this case, or they change their phone number or something like that, right? And so those things still may happen. We still want to keep track of those changes as we go. So I'm leaving this update existing customer in there. And similarly, I'm doing the same thing with the, where is it? Loyalty program. I'm keeping the update loyalty in there, so it's just making changes to loyalty members. And I'm keeping this one in here. This is what's going to be exporting the data for the CSV file. So I'm keeping that in there as well. But I'm removing the method that creates the loyalty member completely from scratch. So that's gone. So now what I've got is I've got this online store customer. And I started working on this class and stuff already, but I don't know if I need this class anymore. Do I need this one anymore? Is this being used anywhere? Yes, I'm using it. Okay. All right. So leave that in there. But we don't need necessarily to have the orders there. So let me bring up the table. So we've got online store customer. We'll just change this to online customer details. Online customer details to kind of match. Rambling Geek. Hi, I thought I would pop in and say hi. Thanks for stopping in, Rambling Geek. How are you doing? You can bring your own emoji into my channel? That's pretty cool. Rambly4J5. Maybe you can explain what that emoji means. Looks like some sort of, I don't know, robot sort of thing. Actually, you know what it reminds me of? There was a show on Nickelodeon called Legends of the Hidden Temple or something like that. It was like a game show, and there was a big, like, sort of Aztec or Olmec or something stone face thing. That's what that kind of reminds me of. I don't know. Looks like you have your own custom emoji too. It's an alien who's pondering something. Interesting. So I've created this emoji. I can take it into other channels and use it there. So Calvin, I'm gonna spam your face in all the channels I go. All right. Anyway, so what I'm doing here, Robot Johnny number 5 from the film Short Circuit. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, need more input? I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Okay. Definitely some sort of robot. Okay, so I want to match up these C# classes roughly to the tables here. So I've got customer details. So it contains password, email, and name. So what else do I have? I've got order, which contains... Oh, you know what other thing? This has ID in it as well. I'm going to need that. Public int ID. I'm using these classes just to pull data out, not necessarily to put data in. So order ID, public int order ID. Yep, if you have the Twitch app installed, you can use them on iMessage also and Discord. Oh, interesting. I don't use either of those. Order ID purchase date, so this will be date time purchase date. And customer ID. Oops. Int customer ID. So if I was doing something like entity framework, I probably wouldn't want customer ID. I just want this to be a customer entity. But we're not going to get that crazy here. The Michael Jolly. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Michael Jolly. How are you? Hola all. Do you have any custom emojis, the Michael Jolly? Because we're all showing off our custom emojis. Yes, give us a song. Definitely. If you haven't seen Michael Jolly's channel yet, definitely check him out. When he streams, sometimes you can get him to play the guitar, which is fun. And there's a song that you sung in like a minor chord or something, which sounded a little strange in a minor chord. But anyway, I don't know much about music. I remember you saying something about minor chord. Channel emotes. Corgi Condi just did some for us, but I haven't uploaded them. You Are My Sunshine. That's what it is. You Are My Sunshine in a minor chord, which is kind of odd. Anyway, order item. I don't know if I need order item, but I may as well. So order ID, public int order ID. So that's, in this case, this is a foreign key because items belong to an order. Product ID, this is also a foreign key because an item that we're purchasing is going to point to some product in another table. We've got quantity. And we've got price, which I'm going to represent as decimal. There isn't a decimal in SQLite. It's just using a float in this case, which probably not the best idea to use a float in SQLite for prices. You probably want to use integer. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. That song was originally written in a minor key like that. The chorus sounds sweet, but the verses are not. Oh, very interesting. And product is the last one. So product. Bing, bada, boom. Esfer, thank you very much for the follow, Esfer. Bada bing, bada boom to you. Still awaiting your rendition of Freebird, the Michael Jolly. Yes, let's get him to sing Freebird. What is this? Vector sings you... I don't know what this is. Some sort of clip there. You're my sunshine. So that might be somebody else that's singing You're on My Sunshine. Wow, we're up to 12 viewers right now. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with me and hanging out my channel. I really appreciate it. Actually, I'm from Alabama, so Sweet Home Alabama seems like the next logical step. Is that like the state song? Is that like what you sing at sporting events? Like in Ohio, we sing, what is it, Hang On Sloopy? That sort of thing. It's a robot singing it, really cool. You know, it does get sung at all sporting events. Well, there you go. That makes sense. Something a little interesting bit of trivia. So there's this song. I'm sure you've heard of Rick Astley, "Never Gonna Give You Up" song, right? Um, there is a Super Nintendo game called Chrono Trigger, and in Chrono Trigger there is a robot character, and his music sounds very, very close to Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up." So you should look that up sometime on YouTube. The robot's name was, I think, I can't remember, the Chrono Trigger robot. Anyway, his music is Rick Astley. Okay, so I've got these classes created. I want to create a method. All this method is going to do is going to pick a online customer at random and create a new order for that customer. I think that's all I really need to do. I mean, I could update password, I guess, but we're just going to update. We're going to add an order, a randomly created order to that customer. So instead of writing the same code over again, what I think I'll do is I'll do some refactoring here. Oh, don't look. Don't look. Look at that one. Close your eyes. Just sweep that under the rug there. They sing the whole thing. Do you sing the bit dissing Neil Young at sporting events? Is that in Sweet Home Alabama? They diss Neil Young? Okay, so I've got this create orders, and this creates some random number of orders. All I really want is this part right here, to create one order, one randomly created order. Everyone loves Sweet Home Alabama statewide, but Alabama football fans are very fond of Dixieland Delight. You'll have to look up singing Dixieland Delight at an Alabama football game. Okay. Take your word for it. I know that the people of Alabama take football very seriously, much like they do here in Ohio. I'm not much of a football fan, but I know it's a very serious thing. Okay, so I have this code I wrote earlier that creates, this code that I'm highlighting creates a randomish order given a customer ID. So I can refactor this into let's just call this, let's make it a private method. Create random order. Create random order. Oh, interesting. Create random online order. It makes a little more sense than random order. But we'll do customer ID, and we'll just paste this in here. So I've got, it's called customer details ID here. I'm going to make it that. I'm going to need this online store DB, but that's just SQLite connection. That's all that is. And this is Dapper. I'm using Dapper here to interact with the database. We has them buck ears. Calvin, we don't talk like that. College football, presumably. Yes, we're talking college football. What else sport are there in Alabama? I mean, I suppose they have some minor league baseball. But I don't think there's no Major League Baseball. There's no hockey, I don't think. There's no professional football. Yeah, there's no professional teams of any sport in Alabama. I'm sure there's some minor league baseball teams or semi-pro, something like that. But yeah, college football. Much like Columbus, Ohio. I mean, I guess we have the Blue Jackets and we have the Crew, but those are relatively recent. For the longest time, it was just Buckeyes. I mean, there's Cincinnati and Cleveland that have professional teams, but Columbus it's pretty much just Buckeye dominated. Okay. Several minor leagues. So I probably want to make this one public, actually, because I'm going to be calling it from enterprise data. So this is going to be online store repository dot create random order online with the customer details ID. Let's see. I have some friends in, I'll spell this wrong, Maumee, Ohio. I'm familiar with Maumee. It's an Indian word, I believe. Calvin's, I'm from West Virginia. I talk like that. Yeah, he has a bit of a West Virginia accent. Did Columbus have a World League team? Can't remember. I don't know what World League is. So maybe? Michael Jolly says, yup. Birmingham had the Fire World League team. I don't know what those things are. Is that some sort of soccer thing? I have no idea. Okay, online store repository. So I need to bring in this. So two options here. And I'm going to just indent these here. I could just say online store repository and just inject it that way. Let's see. It's now the NFL Europe, isn't it? It's now the NFL Europe. Oh, okay. American football. Okay, some sort of professional league that's not the regular NFL. All right. So that's one option. Another option is I could actually just new it up here and just pass in the SQLite connection. But that's, there's no reason to do that. I can just let the constructor injection work for me. And let's just double check in my constructor injection. You can see I've got all kinds of databases here. Let's see. NFL Europe died a while back. In the UK, we were hoping for an NFL franchise. Oh, you're in the UK there, Codebase Alpha? And you won an NFL franchise? I thought Europeans didn't care about NFL at all. Pro League in the States and Europe, and then they went solely European. I think there was a NBA Europe League as well that I think was relatively popular. It was actually as a kid I grew up with in my hometown who played in NBA Europe, I think. We're really going off the rails here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We have going off the rails with sports. That's fine. That's fine. We're just relaxing. We're just hanging out here. So this is my startup. You can see all the different... so not true. Big NFL following here. Wow, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of surprising. But good, I guess. I'm not a football fan really much at all, especially not NFL. I'm in Columbus, so I'm kind of required by law to be a Buckeyes fan. But even college football, I only watch a couple games a year. I went to one game in person at Ohio Stadium. That was enough. I'm much more of a baseball fan. Okay, so this is my ASP.NET startup, and you can see all the different databases that this single app is connecting to. That in reality, in our enterprise, they probably have several separate apps that would connect to these databases. But London franchise in the card. So you're telling me that NFL is going to have a team in London that's going to play against all the NFL teams that are based in the States? That'd be very interesting. The Major League Baseball had some games played in Mexico this year. I think it would be pretty cool to have some Latin teams in Major League Baseball. But, I mean, there's already a ton of teams in baseball. I don't know if we need a lot more teams. But it would be kind of cool to have, we have one Canadian team and the rest are in the U.S. And there's, Latin America is crazy for baseball. So it would be great to have some Latin America and Mexican MLB teams. That'd be very cool. It would be tough travel-wise. Yeah, I guess so, but probably not that bad because it's only one game a week in NFL, right, that a team plays. As opposed to baseball, you play 6 games a week. With NFL, it's just one game a week, right? So that's not too bad. The time zones would be weird, though, for people watching it here in the States, I guess. All right, so yes, we've got that, and I've got, I need online store repository to be added here. That's just going to be transient, that's fine. Okay. So this is creating a customer at random. So that's good. So what this needs to do then is it needs to find a random customer ID, and then we'll just call this random customer ID equals, something. And then it's going to create random online order with that random customer ID. And that's it. Over here, we just do this. So I've refactored this out to this repository method. So I don't have to write the same code over again. I don't want to anyway. Now I just need to write some code to actually find a random customer ID. So the way I can do this is, imagine being the UK team. You'd be flying over at least 8 times 16 weeks. If you don't make the playoffs, the jet lag will destroy your practices. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking from the NFL, from the States team's perspective. It wouldn't be too bad, but the UK team, yeah, that would be challenging. I guess what they probably do is, well, I don't know how they'd work that out. How do they do that with, because with like World Cup soccer, it's got to be a similar thing, right? You have teams all over the world in different time zones playing each other. But they may have their own leagues or something, their own, relatively local leagues that they play most of their games against. I don't know. Where you'd have just this one team in London out there by itself. All right, so let's do some SQL here. So we can say SQLite connection. We're going to select from customer details. Query. We're going to return an integer here because I just want an ID. That's all I want. Probably schedule multiple word games in a row. Yeah, it makes sense. From customer details, we're selecting ID. Customer details. And I believe it's order by random. Limit 1. I say no NFL in UK. Get a UK EU league going, and then their winner and Super Bowl winner plays for championship. So there's something called the World Baseball Classic. Maybe this is how the World Cup works, is that there's 4 pools of teams. There's like the Asian pool, the like the European, maybe even African pool, and the US pool and Latin America pool. And from each of those pools comes 1 or 2 winners, and then they go into like a bracket from there. Baseball works differently because you generally play a series of games. You don't just play one game against a team. But I guess the problem with that is, maybe it's not a problem, but if you have, there's like a South African baseball team, right? And, I love that they have a team in South Africa, but they're not terribly good. And so, and probably the same can be said for the European teams, although the Europeans do have some colonies still in Caribbean with a lot of good players there, so a little tricky. But I guess my fear would be you'd have all these teams pooled up in Europe, and they're relatively new to NFL. It would be tough for them to win, right? So they would at least at first they would probably lose a lot, which would be discouraging, I think, for fans. If it's the big Super Bowl game, Europe versus America, I don't know. I guess the thing is, it's just because your team's based in London doesn't mean all your players come from England or Europe, right? So you could have some free agents come over from the States. A good team. All right, let me just make sure this query works. Open up SQL Administrator, SQLite Administrator. So that was one. That was one. Okay, I just want to make sure it's. Let me take the limit part off. Just want to make sure the randomness is working. So 2, 1, 3, 4. And 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. Rumors about the London Jaguars abound. So that would be a team going from, because there is an NFL Jaguars team, right? They'd be moving to London. Okay, so this is going to select a random customer ID, just one of them. That's why I have the first on here, which this will completely bomb if there's no data in that table, but we're going to assume that's always going to be the case. And it's going to create a random order online. So now I just want to test out this. So I'm going to go back to my controller. This is my, I'll put a little comment up here. This controller class is kind of like a test harness for me to do this stuff manually. All these pieces are going to be automated by scheduled jobs or background tasks, things like that. But I do want to be able to run them from like Postman or Swagger just manually to test them out. So this is going to be API online store. What did I call this up here? Updates. Call it updates. High action results, right? And update online store. Customer, I guess. And this will be, don't have that one here, do I? Yeah, this is definitely getting out of control. As you can see, I've got yet another dependency here. But again, this is just kind of a test harness. This is not, you know, if you're actually doing a controller like this is probably way too much. You need a facade pattern or something. But it'll be fine for now. Online store repository. And we'll go ahead and add that. Update existing. And we'll turn OK. Success. All right, so what I would expect to happen now is I've got so many orders in this database. Oh, yeah, this has to be escaped. So there's 8 orders in there right now. If I run this method here and it doesn't error on me, if it doesn't, I should have 9 orders now. And I do. So this would be a good time for a bada bing, bada boom. So I will do that right there. Bada bing, bada boom. Fun. Okay. So all of these are just sort of testing various things, but now I've got, I get the ability to put fake data into all these systems. This populate method is going to initially create a person amongst one or more systems. And then these updates will make incremental changes to those customers as we go. So it's probably a good time now to commit. And a lot of stuff here. And a lot of the stuff I did, I'm not going to check in. This DB file, this logs, all that stuff I did between streams, right? I didn't do some of the stuff on stream, but this is all on GitHub. It's all open source. So we're adding online store and refactoring. I probably should have done multiple check-ins for this. And refactoring fake data generation. Adding online store database. Factoring, okay. And I'll go ahead and push this out to GitHub. It's in a branch out there. Okie doke. Okay. Let's bring up my text file here again, just to make sure we're still on track. All right, so I have ability to create fake data, split it up. Reassembling will happen later. We'll get to that. Probably get to that Thursday. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll start that today. Keep the update methods. Yep, we're keeping those. And we created a repo with update existing. I did create a repo, and I was able to refactor some code so I don't have to write the same thing twice. Okay. So the last thing I had planned today was to actually start working on the online store API endpoint. So these are the endpoints going to be called by the Customer 360 system to pull data from the online store, as opposed to these other two. This is really more of a push. The data is being pushed from home delivery to Customer 360. It's being pushed from loyalty via CSV to Customer 360. I know the diagram here has the arrow pointing, but really this is more of a pull. We're going to query this REST API from the Customer 360 and store the data in there into the staging bucket. Okay. So what I think I need for that is 3 total endpoints. And the design of this is really, this could go in a lot of different directions, but it could just be one endpoint, or it could be multiple, or some combination in between. And a full online store API would probably have a lot more than this, especially if it's interacting with like a Angular or React front end or something. But for our purposes, all we really care about are the endpoints that are going to give us the data we need for the Customer 360. So in reality, these endpoints would already exist. I wouldn't have to create them. But for our tutorial purposes, I need to create them so I can make the rest of the integration work. So we need 3 endpoints here. These are all going to be GET endpoints, and there's going to be no authentication on them. Again, it's probably not a good idea to pass around customer information unauthenticated. But we're just keeping it simple. You know, authorization for APIs can vary a lot of different ways to approach that. This tutorial is not about authorization. This is about integrating data. So we're going to assume the authorization details are something you're going to handle on your own. So I'm not going to build auth into my sort of fake REST endpoint. Okay, so let's go back over here to Visual Studio, which I think was updated. I don't know if I told you this. Updated since the last stream I did. Version 16.0.2. Codebase Alpha. It's a GDPR nightmare. Absolutely. If you're dealing with businesses that are interacting with Europeans, data governance becomes huge when you're copying data around. You have to make sure if I'm copying this data into Customer 360, I'm no lawyer, no GDPR expert, but you have to be able to remove that data from Customer 360 as well. I'm not going to cover any of that either. This is really just a starting point. There's a Customer 360 architecture is a really huge undertaking, and we can't cover all the details in a single tutorial. But it's a very good point, Codebase Alpha, that data governance, things like GDPR, moving sensitive data around, very important consideration for these systems. Okay, so I'm going to create I already created a new controller. I already put some notes in here. Oh, that's good. I was thinking ahead. Yeah, so 3 endpoints. So the first one is we're going to be able to get customer details, and I think this should be by email. And this should be, we're going to be able, once we have a customer details, we'll have like the customer ID, then we can get the orders that a customer has put in. And then once we have the orders, those orders will contain order items, and each item will contain a product ID, and we may want to get the product ID details, so there's an endpoint to get that as well. You might argue that you could combine these two and be more efficient. I may change this down the road. We'll see how it goes, but it's a good place to start. Okay. All right. So we need action result, and this is going to be get customer details. This will be string customer email, and so this will be HTTP get and route. And so I had used this over here in the test harness. I'm going to stick with that prefix. Get customer details. Let's be explicit and call this by email. Okay. We're just not going to do anything right now. Throw new not implemented exception. This is a placeholder that we need to do something there. Okay, get customer detail email. Okay, we got that. We need another endpoint, another HTTP get. Different route. And this will be, you should put the root prefix on the class. Yeah, I probably should. You do it up here. But it's just going to be 3 endpoints. This is a system that I'm not going to be maintaining in the long run. This is basically just a one-off. But absolutely, if you are building systems like this, you can put I think it's just use the root up here, attribute up here at the controller class, and you can use a prefix up there. Absolutely, that's the right way to do it if you're building a full-fledged web API system here. This is just sort of a toy. So get orders by customer ID. Now, should it be get orders by or get orders for? What do you think? Actually, oh, by the way, Hard Denmark, thank you very much for stopping by. I think this is your first comment I've seen from you today. Thank you for dropping in and hanging out with us. Get orders by customer ID. This will be customer ID. And we'll also do a not implemented exception there. Okay, so that's our second endpoint. We could also make this customer email. In fact, a really API probably would accept both of them as options. That's Calvin and I used. When I worked with Calvin, we did. I did a lot of endpoints like this, a lot of API stuff, and we tended to make it as flexible as possible. So, an endpoint might expect a customer ID or a customer email, or a combination of the two, that sort of thing. But to try and make it as robust as possible. I'm not trying to design a robust system. I'm just trying to design something to make the demonstration of the other parts easier to do. Okay, the last one is get product information for a given product. Get product by product ID. And again, one might make the argument that you could ship the product details with this request here, and that would save some extra traffic over the HTTP. But I'm going to start here. I may come back and change it. Get product, and it should be product details maybe. Get product details. Let's go with that. And this will be product ID. And again, just a nice placeholder here. Let me just check so I've got until noon blocked off for Twitch. So I will be at, if you're not in the same time zone as me, that means I'm about halfway done. I got about an hour left. So this should be no problem to get these knocked out. I don't think it'll be a problem. Okay, and online store repository, probably, for this. Put read-only field in there. Okay, now, I probably should put some sort of validation here on customer email. Should have validation on customer email, which means we should check it to make sure that it is not null or not empty string. Probably even check it to make sure it's an actual email address. But for our purposes, I'm not going to go too crazy with that. So I'm just going to, this is just going to be really simple. Online store repository.get customer details by email. It's just going to be a pass-through. Very, very simple. Just an example of validation would be like if string.is null or empty customer email, then we'll return a bad request. You must specify customer email. something like that. Really, really simple validation. I could also check to see if there's a valid email address or a number of different things. But I'm just going to keep it like that. Why not? Okay, so that's red. So what I'm doing here is I'm using ReSharper. I'm hitting Alt-Enter, the little light bulb icon up here. And the first one is going to create the method for us. It's going to create a shell of a method automatically on this online store repository class. So you look over here. I've got two methods right now: update existing and create random online order. When I do this, I'm going to add a third method to it. And this is going to be online customer details. All right. So all this is going to do, and again, this is probably another situation where the repository might return a certain entity class, and then I'd want to map that to a different class using a tool like AutoMapper or something. I don't want to necessarily return that entity directly to the API, but you know. I guess if you came here for advice on how to build your ASP.NET Core REST API, you're getting a lot of bad advice from me. But this stream is really more about the data integration parts and not so much the details of the REST API. Okay, so I'll fill that in later. But it's going to be a very similar thing over here. We're going to say get orders by customer ID. Pass in customer ID there. Create another method. This is going to be a list of online store, online, didn't I create a class for that? Online store. Oh, I called it order. Let's make that online store order. Online store order item. And probably this should contain a list. And if I was using Entity Framework or something, this would do this kind of stuff for me. I'm just going to stick to Dapper. Keep it simple. Anything more complex than this, you definitely want to have introduced some sort of ORM. Issue, okay, yeah. Online order, online store order. Yep. What's this? I don't know where that came from. Okay. And one more. Do it down here. Get rid of this. Get product detail, product ID. And this is going to be online store. Do I not have that class created? Oh, I thought, why is this putting an in over here? What is that coming from? Is that some new syntax? ReSharper created for me? Let me just, what in the world? Let me try this again. Huh. What is this in here? Where's that coming from? Is that the opposite of out? And why would I want to use in? Huh. Okay. Any ideas? Please let me know in the chat. At least post a link to the documentation. I have a good stream I need to shoot. Oh, have a good stream I need to shoot. See you next time. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Realm of Geek. You have a good one. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Oh, online store product. So this one needs to be product ID, name, description, category. Public int, product ID, string name. I'll just put category here next. Public string description. All right. And so that method is going to return just one product. Yep. Okay. That's good. All right. So I'm expecting this to return one customer exactly. Okay, so in this case, remember we initially populated our data. A customer may exist in one of those other two systems, but not exist in here. So a request may come in to say, give me the online details for this email address, but there is none. There is no details. So returning null from here could be expected. We could also, if we wanted to, in the controller, we could check to see first, does that customer actually exist? So we could also say if it is not the case that customer exists, does customer exist, then we could return a, well, we'll return a 404, but what's the method for that? How do we return a 404 ASP.NET Core Web API? Not found. Not found. Yep, return not found. I'll put a little message here. No customer with address, customer email was found. Now this is going to be important to have this, I think, because as we do the integration later with Customer 360, this is a situation that's not exceptional. This actually may occur quite a lot. So it's useful to check that. It's probably also useful to have this before we check to see if the customer exists, because if it's just a null or empty value, there's no reason we should bother with this. So let's go ahead and put this in here. So all this is going to do is check to see if that customer actually exists by the email address. And if not, return false. Put it up here at the top. So the way we can do this is we can, let's see. We could just say customers equals SQLite connection. And we'll do a query. Would a query be a good idea? We could do a count. Yeah, customer count. We'll just count to see how many customers have that email address. And it shouldn't be more than one. It could be 0 or 1. That's basically what we'd expect here. So we'll just say select count from, and it is customer details, where email equals, and equals customer email. And we'll pass that in as a parameter. Customer email equals customer email. And this is going to return an integer. It's going to return, so let me just check this. We'll just run this query right here, where email equals foo. So I know that email address is not in there. It still returns a 0. So that's good. That's fine. Okay, very good. Getting some distractions from my phone. What is it? Text message. Okay, so I need to let someone in the house working on my remodeling. So I'll take a quick break. I will be right back. Sorry about that. I expected them to be a little earlier. But I got my headphones on. I can't really hear knocking at the door and stuff. So, okay. So that's going to return a count. So that's either going to be 0 or 1. So basically, if customer count is greater than 0, we'll return true. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, this needs to be first. Yep. It could be first or default, I guess. I'm expecting integer, and default integer is 0, so that'd be fine. First or default, a little safer. Okay. So that's just going to determine if the customer exists. If it doesn't, then we'll return a 404. Okay. Now we need customer details by email. This is going to be a little bit more work because, again, I'm not using an entity framework or Hibernate or anything like that. So I've got to do some mapping by hand. Customer is SQLite, and we'll do a query. And a phone call. I'm blowing up my phone. Online customer details. And this is also going to be, let's make it first. Now, I remember where I used to work, we had an exception. We had a extension method that would, it would say it was a first or throw or something like that, single or throw. So we could, first or throw, yeah, that's what Calvin says. So it would throw a specific exception if it didn't actually return any results. Well, a very handy exception. You guys consider open sourcing some of those, or maybe they are a project already, and yeah, you want to, yeah. Yeah, those were very handy. Would be nice to have around. Anyway, okay, so I got to write some SQL there. Return customer. Yeah, okay, I think that's good. So, another message on my phone. Oh, it's a voicemail of some sort. Okay. So we could start simply by saying select star from customer details, but that's not going to work because the results, it has to be where email equals customer email. That's not going to work because the field names, with Dapper, the field names need to match up to the actual fields in the C# class. Oh, so it might actually work for this one. Password, email, name, and ID. And if we go here, it's password, email, name. So that's actually going to work. I don't need to do anything else with this. So less work than I thought. Good. Oh, I do need to put in a parameter here. New customer email equals customer email. Okay. All right. So if I can, let's just try it out. I'll try it with my little test harness. It should work. Let's just get an example of one in here. Select star from customer details. So I've got, for instance, Tom Wyman, Tromp.uk. Tromp. All right. Swashbuckle picking up this new controller. Very cool. And also, you can see in here, it's figured out the parameter as well. So this is actually, well, that's not what I wanted to copy. Copy. There we go. Copy this, paste it in here. Yeah. So this is just going to construct the API request for me. I'm pasting the email address in there, executes, and we get the result back, 200. And there's Tom Wyman, all the information. We can also try the other path here, where that email does not exist. It was here. So we should expect it to return this 404 with this message here. So I'll put in, I don't know, Bill Nye, Netflix.com. So he's not in the system. Execute this. I should get a 404. I do. And this error message, no customer, was found. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So that's working. We could try something like this, where I just pass in empty, and I get a 400 error message this time, which is bad request. You must specify customer email. Okay. So we've tested. Don't start with the giggity. I don't want. It makes me uncomfortable. But anyway, so we've manually tested those three cases there. So we test this one, and this one. And probably should write some automated tests for that. Those would probably be integration tests. I guess, I mean, we could test this controller with some unit tests. I don't know if that's really worth it. It's very, very simple. Testing the whole thing together, integration, the controller and the repository and the SQLite database. That's more work to do, but that's probably a more valuable test. But I'm not going to do that. Maybe we'll come back and do that later. Yeah. All right. Next. Get orders by customer ID. So we have a customer. That customer has one or more orders. So I've sort of made the assertion that you're not in the system unless you have at least one order. So it doesn't really matter. But so we have, given a customer ID, we have some orders. So we can say select star from orders, where, oh wait, this is the wrong tool. Beans is baked. Hey, thanks for stopping in. Beans is baked. I was just trying to resolve a question for software I'm developing using C#. I tried asking on Stack Overflow, but couldn't seem to find anything out. Think I could forward the link for you to check out? Absolutely, Beans is baked. I will check it out. And post a link in here. I think that's allowed. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, there it is. And everybody else in the chat, you can check that out if you want to as well. How to read a QR code directly from a mobile camera using ZXing ASP.NET Web Form. Okay, I don't know what ZXing is. And it seems like this is a web forms code, which is fine. I used to work on web forms. I'll at least give you a vote. Give you an upvote on that. Add patience. So ZXing is a barcode generator and reader too. It doesn't use a camera to scan. Interesting. So you're expecting this. You're creating a web page that's going to be running in a mobile browser, and so you want to then tap into the device's camera and scan the QR code using a web page, a web app, basically. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I've not used ZXing before, and I've never used mobile camera in a browser. My camera opens based on the button, but it doesn't actually scan anything or take a picture. Interesting. This is yeah, I don't know. I can't get sidetracked by this right now, but I could tweet it out later. Get some people looking at it, and I do have some coworkers who are more mobile oriented than me. I could maybe have them take a look at it as well. but this is ASP.NET and ZXing and C#. So yes, I will put a pin in this, but definitely the kind of things that I've said this in past streams. It's not something I can help with like right off the top of my head. But if you have a question, if you're watching this stream, watching this video, if you have a question, please feel free to stop and ask. Even if it seems like the simplest thing, there's a lot of stuff that I just sort of glance over and just don't even think about anymore because I've done it in the past and I just sort of don't think about it. But something my father told me when I was young, he said, the only stupid question is the one you do not ask. So I agree with that philosophy. So any questions you have about anything going on my stream or anything related, absolutely feel free to ask. The very least I can do is get in front of someone else to see if they can help. Anyway, thanks Beans is Baked. Hopefully we'll get some attention to your question and get an answer for you. Okay.
Bing, bada, boom.
Beans is Baked, not following. Yeah, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Back over here. Where was I? Really nice philosophy. Thank you, Liz, for the help. Yes, I agree. It's some wisdom early on. I remember it very clearly. I was asking my dad about something. I had a question because I was really into circuits, electronics when I was a kid, and I was asking a question about some sort of radio kit I was putting together, and I went to ask him. I said, "Oh, never mind. It was a stupid question." And then that's what he said to me right there. He said, "The only stupid question is the one you don't ask." And so I felt that way about everything. I felt that philosophy since then. That makes a lot of sense. It's really good to be open like that. Calvin, I'm not aware of any way to make the camera read the data without actually taking a picture and somehow processing it. Reading through the comments on there, I kind of agree with the QR code app reading that someone suggested. Thank you for taking a look at that, Calvin. Yeah, I guess kind of the trick would be, well, you've got this file and it's capturing a camera. So you'd think that just doing that and hitting the submit button would upload the picture and then it could be processed on the server side. So, yeah, I don't know. I was curious. Anyway, going back over to the database, would actually implement another software into mine. I never actually done that before. I think maybe a client-side JavaScript library might also help with this sort of thing. If it's not something that, because it seems like you're giving a lot of control to the browser with the input, the file input type. But I know I don't know if you're, I think with Android you can specify different, you're going to open this with an app and you, what do they call them in Android? Oh, I'm getting really sidetracked here. So, but you can specify different types of actions and that would trigger, any app that can handle that action to then open. So like QR code, for instance, would be a type of app. All right, where was I? Select star from order where customer ID equals, actually, let's just go ahead and trigger this. So like order number, customer ID 4, let's do that. Where o.customer ID equals 4. So this should return 4 orders. So this customer has 4 orders. Now, all I know about these orders is that the purchase date of them. So I need to actually do a join with the order items. And this is one main difference between relational and non-relational is that with relational, you generally split the data up in all these tiny flat pieces in tables like this, and you have to reassemble them with a join. So I'm going to join order item O, join order item I on O dot order ID equals I dot order ID. So then over here I could say O dot star, I dot star, just to, yes. So now I've done this join and I've denormalized. So I've got these different orders here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 orders, and then each order has, oh, I've got 2 different. Yeah. So what I really need is O dot order ID, O dot purchase date, item dot product ID, and item dot quantity, item dot price. Okay, so you can see I've got order 6 has these 4 products in it, and I've bought 2 of this product at this price, I bought 3 of this product at this price, etc. So this is actually going to get a little tricky. Because I've got to basically do this mapping. These 4 rows go into one object. And this row goes to another object, this row another object, this row another object. You know, I thought there was a way to do this in Dapper as well, without having to do some sort of for loop. But I could also just do some link, probably, to group it. So let's just do like raw orders equals SQLite connection dot query. Yeah, that's the problem, is that I don't have an object to represent that raw query. I mean, I could put dynamic, but that's not really going to be what I want, I don't think. How do we make it work? Going to be a little hacky. Customer ID equals, and this is going to be customer ID. Okay, and that's going to return all of them. Okay, and so I say raw orders, and I could, there's like a group by sort of thing you can do in SQL. Excuse me. And so this would be group by R dot, and it's dynamic, so R dot order ID, R dot purchase date, how does group by work? See, I've hardly ever used this before. Is it like that? Group equals. Yeah, let's look at group by here. See how this works. Yeah, by a compound key. That's kind of what I'm doing here. So I've got exam scores. Where's the group by? Group by range. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, I think what I want is a group by method. So a class like person ID and car. I want to have a list of this class. Yep. Absolutely. You basically want g.toList. This is, I think this is what I'm looking for right here. This sort of thing. Put these side by side. Group by. So I want order ID, person ID. Something like this. Code by itself. A query order using query order and query order details using query multiple. You're talking. This is a Dapper thing you're talking about. Is that what you're getting at? Query order using query order and query order details using query multiple. So what is query multiple? That sounds really familiar. Dapper, yeah. So it'd be two separate queries? What would be the query that would go into query multiple? Is this going to return a type, order, item, order, store, like this? This typed? That does not seem typed. Select star from order detail where order number equals order number. Star from, and this is, so I call it order item, where order ID equals order ID, something like that. Lake DK, deep learning is the future, I shall adapt. Are you part of the Borg, Lake DK? Select star from order item. So what does this actually return? Well, the problem with this is I want to return all the orders. No, I'm new to this channel. Yeah, well, thanks for hanging out with us, Lake DK. Thanks for joining. Do you have somewhere I could post a code snippet? Oh, geez. If you have Visual Studio, we could do like a live share sort of thing. We could work in the same editor. Are you using Visual Studio 2019? I don't know if we need to have the same version or what. I guess the problem with that, oh, you say sure, okay, that'd be great. The problem I kind of come up against there is that this is going to return multiple orders, right? So it's not just one order, but it's a customer with multiple orders. So with that approach, I think it'd have to loop. So for every order, there'd be 2 queries, which might be fine. How do we do this live share thing? I've never done this before. Firewall's going to prompt me. That's fine. Okay. Look at all this stuff. Oh, should I be showing that link? Why not use Node.js, like DK says? Node.js would be fine for this too. A little late to make that decision right now. Nothing wrong with Node.js for what I'm doing. But I've been using C# for a long time. I'm much better with C# than JavaScript. I'm going to stop that. So I think that showed a link there. So let me just bring this over to the screen. Sharing. Invitation link, copy to clipboard. Send it to anyone you trust. Okay. So can I do like a whisper sort of thing here? Whispers are disabled in pop-out mode. Okay, so I need to open up in Twitch and find you. Do you work for Microsoft? I do not work for Microsoft. No. Do you work for Microsoft? I work for a company called Couchbase, and I just happened. I've used Microsoft. I've used .NET, C#, for a lot of my career. All right, so Codebase Alpha. I found you on Twitch. How do I actually send you a whisper? Oh, here we go. Codebase Alpha. This is all new to me. Are you from San Francisco? I am not from San Francisco. I live in Columbus, Ohio. But Couchbase is headquartered in San Jose. If that's why you're asking that. But I work remotely. I work from home here in gorgeous Columbus, Ohio. Nice sunny day today. What about you, Lake DK? I take it you're really into Node.js? Codebase Alpha, I sent you a link via a Twitch whisper, so I don't know what's going to happen next. How is the tech scene in Columbus, Ohio? So there's actually a pretty healthy startup scene here in Columbus, Ohio. It's not as glamorous, I guess, as the types of companies in the Bay Area. Columbus is a real big insurance town. Like Nationwide Insurance is here, Safe Auto, State Auto, a lot of insurance companies. So there are some startups that are kind of based around, like Cover My Meds is based here. There's a Root Insurance. There's a couple other companies like that they're B2B insurance companies that are startups. Calvin FinTech, yeah. Chase Bank is based here. Huntington Bank, some banks here. So it's not like, you know, the really flashy Bay Area type companies. But oh, looks like someone has joined my collaboration session. Go back here to repository. So I don't know. Can you type now? How does this work? I've never done this before. This is pretty cool. Actually, getting to try out this this live share feature of Visual Studio. Oh, look at that. So hopefully you don't mind your email address being shown on the stream here, Codebase Alpha. But putting in a SQL. A string SQL text here to select from the order. So the table is called order. No, just order, singular. And you're going to need to put square brackets around it because order is a reserved word. It doesn't matter. If you're just trying to get the point across, it doesn't really matter. The details of it, I can tweak those. I kind of feel like I shouldn't type anything, although I think the point of this is that we can both work on it at the same time. Like I could say, I could comment this stuff out. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I know this is something that C# Fritz has been showing on his channel from time to time, the Visual Studio Live Share. Select star from order item. Where order ID equals. Okay. So that first one's going to be just the orders that correspond to the customer. Yep. And the next one's going to be just the items that correspond to the order. Yep. So at this point, it's going to be that first query is going to return, say, 4 orders. And then I'm going to loop through that. So it'll be a for loop to loop through each order. And then there'll be another query inside of that. So there'll be a total of n plus 1 queries, right? So if there's 4 orders, there's going to be 1 query to get all the orders, and then 1 query each for each order. Yep. I think I see where you're going with this. Something like that. Yep. And then it's going to be for each order. Yep. Oh, so yeah. In orders. Something along those lines. And this is SQLite connection. Online order. Not online order, like that. I think I see where you're going with this. And then we'd say order items. SQLite connection dot query online order item SQL, and then that's going to be order dot order ID. This is kind of what you're getting at. Codebase Alpha. Ancient Coder. Hello, how are you, Ancient Coder? Thanks for stopping in. This is we're doing a little bit of collaboration over Visual Studio. Order ID equals. So it says, yeah, almost I can fill in a bit more if you like. I think I kind of see where you're going, but there was one thing you mentioned was the query multiple. How does that fit into this with Dapper? Exciting. What are you working on? So we're working on a small piece of a REST API that's going to be part of a larger integration project to join data together from multiple databases into a complete picture of a customer 360 view for a retail use case. All right, and so we're talking about, so I'm not using Entity Framework or anything like that to access data. I'm just trying to keep it really simple, and ran into a little bit of more complex situation here where I have an order table, and then each order has items, 1 or more items in it. And so I got Codebase Alpha here, who's joined in via Visual Studio Live Share to do some pair programming. And you can't hear him talk, but he's doing all the typing right now. So he suggested that since I'm using Dapper, that I use query multiple, which I believe I use, but it's been a long time since I've been that deep in the relational world. Calvin's saying I use that with stored procs to return multiple result sets. Yeah, I don't think I can do stored procs in SQLite. But interesting to see what's going on here with the query multiple. So we're doing order.items is multi-read to list. So I'm assuming this read is going to be the same type there. Oops. This is what I want. Like so. So I'm kind of wondering what the query multiple is giving here, as opposed to just a regular query. what's the benefit of the query multiple in this case? That's pretty much it. So yeah, I think I kind of get where you're going with this. Ancient Coder says seems good. Here's the diagram here, Ancient Coder, just to kind of see where we're working on this part right here, this REST API part. I've done these other parts up here in previous streams. Okay, well, I'm coming towards the end of my stream here, actually. Got about 7 minutes left. I'm going to check, because I remember, so speaking of Stir Trek, which is happening this Friday, conference, I actually did a presentation on Dapper at a Stir Trek a long time ago, when I was really into Dapper. And I remember talking about query multiple, but it's been so long since I've actually used it that I've kind of forgotten it, how it works, and why I would use that in this situation. It's on YouTube. Yeah, my talk is on YouTube, so I should watch my own talk on YouTube at Star Trek. So I remember. That's how I do it anyway. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, that's always the case, right? Okay, I will definitely check that out. All right, well, I'll go ahead and end the sharing now, and the live share session on Visual Studio. So thank you very much for jumping in on that Codebase Alpha. I appreciate that. I'm going to let this simmer a little bit and check out probably my own presentation from years ago to see what the heck, why would I use query multiple over just another query statement here. So I think I'm going to probably just wrap things up here. I got about 5 minutes left. But I still need to do some more work here on this get orders by customer ID. And the other one is get product details by product ID. That's going to be a very straightforward one as well. Codebase Alpha, no problems. That was fun. Live share is awesome. You know, it really is. This is the first time I've ever used it, and it was incredibly intuitive. I just clicked this button and sent a URL via a Twitch whisper to Codebase Alpha. I'm sure that URL contains sensitive login information, but that was super easy to get up and running. Are you using Visual Studio 2019 Codebase Alpha, or are you using some other version? Because it would be even cooler if we were using multiple different versions together, collaborating. But anyway, yeah, live share. Let me just zoom in on that over here at the top right so you can see that. Yeah, Codebase Alpha is on 2019. I'm assuming we have to be in the same version. At least it's the same major version, but that is very cool. I could have used VS Code. I think I remember hearing about that. You could use VS Code on your end. I could use Visual Studio on my end, and we could collaborate on the same thing. Very cool. So let me zoom in up here, and you can just click that share button, and what it does is it copies this invitation link to my clipboard, and I just pasted that into Twitch. Very, very cool. Oh, anyway, so we're about time here. So I'm going to do some more work on this. I'll probably have the REST API up and running by the time we do the next stream, which will be Thursday. I do 1:30 p.m. on Eastern time, Eastern U.S. time. Calvin, I wasn't invited to the coding party. I feel left out. Calvin, man, you know, I could have sent you the link too. Could we have like all three of us the same file at the same time? It'd be pretty chaotic. Thanks for the stream. It was fun. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Codebase Alpha. Very helpful. I like your little alien who's getting hyped there. It's a cool emoji. Just want to show my custom emoji off one more time. A little bada bing, bada boom with Calvin Allen's head. So yeah, I'll be back streaming again on Thursday. Maybe we can start actually doing the Customer 360, combining the data, which is actually, you know, that's the money right there. That's the whole purpose of all this stuff, is to actually get that data integrated, combined into one platform. Bada bing, bada boom, says Codebase Alpha. I love it. Let's catch it on, Calvin. Okay, well, that's it for now. I think. Look for this video later on YouTube. I'll probably do some sort of highlight, since this live share thing especially was very cool. I'll do a little highlight clip of that. All right, and I'm gonna make sure I'm following you, Codebase Alpha. I think I am following you, but I'll add you as a friend anyway. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks very much for joining me, and I hope you all have a good day. Oh, one more thing. Before I quit, if he's still here, Beans is baked. We're going to try to see if we can get some more eyeballs on his Stack Overflow question related to QR codes. There was some discussion about it. I don't think we came to a conclusion on it, so I'm going to see if I can't get some more eyeballs on this question. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, everybody, and I hope you all have a really good day. Later.